Welcome to my session about analyzing your online presence using Power BI. This is what I'm going to try to cover today. I'm going to very shortly tell you a little bit about myself. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about this topic, why I'm doing this and why I'm talking about this. Then I'm going to just dive in a little bit into the data itself. This session is mostly going to be about the data. So how do you get it? Where is it? What's the problems with the data? What all these steps that we had go through to find the data and get it in. But I will also show you some Power BI, mostly what we have done to visualize this data. I'm not going to have a lot of time going into specific techniques in Power BI, but if you're really interested in that, you're more than welcome to either talk about it afterwards with me, or we can hook up. I have my information in here, contact information, if you want to contact me and have a more in-depth discussion about specific techniques in Power BI. Okay. So, my name is Ásgeir Gunnarsson. I come from Iceland. I work as a BI developer for a prosthetic manufacturing company in Iceland. I've been doing BI for the last 10 years, Power BI since it came out. I'm the group leader of the Icelandic PaaS group. I do a lot of this speaking. I'm a MVP as well. And here are my contact information. The slides will be available to you after the session, so you can always get in touch. I like to connect, and if you have any, if you would like to discuss this any further, please don't hesitate. So, why this topic? The company I work for, we have a global presence. We are business to business mostly, so we are online presence is maybe not the most, and not as important to us as many other companies, but we still have a brand to worry about, and we do quite a bit of social media work. So, there has been this manual process. There is a social media manager in our company, and he has every quarter he delivers a report to his managers, which he says how we are doing on social media. And he has been doing this for a while, and he just logs into Facebook. Oh, how many followers do we have? Logs into Twitter. How many followers do we have there? And then he does this for all the platforms, and it's just a lot of manual process that's not very effective. And he can only touch on so small things because of the effort. He wanted to do a project, big, nice project, but as in many companies, we have limited resources for IT projects, so the project was not prioritized. But what we did then instead, we decided to do like a proof of concept in Power BI. It shortens the development time a lot. You can get much faster to some insights straight away. So we did that, and we are still doing it. We have been doing it for a few months now. It's been working pretty well, actually. But as I will come through, Power BI is maybe not always the best tool for the job, but it's still something that we have been really happy with in the way we have done it. We decided to look at 4 social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And the reason for that was that they are the ones we use mostly. We did some Google Analytics as well, but then that's been moved away from the Power BI platform now. But then I will tell you a little bit about it anyway. What problems we got into there. So I'm just going to go through the platforms one by one and tell you a little bit about how we're doing it, what your options are if you want to do it, and then show you a little bit what we've done with it. So first, I want to show you this report. This is the report he was compiling manually. It's not the prettiest one, but it's still. And this was actually what we had to go on. This is what we had to replace. Just do some more automation, but still, this is essentially what we had to replace. So this is what we had in mind when we went out to find the data. So when we knew what data we needed to go out and find it. So we just asked ourselves, where is the data? Well, all the platforms, they have their own data store. They actually have well-defined models, so it's not very difficult to figure that out. The next one was a little bit trickier. How are we going to get the data? And like I say, I'm going to go through the platforms one by one, and that's going to better explain what options you have. But typically, the options are files, downloadable files, or using the APIs those platforms provide. And it differs a lot what's available and what's good and what is not good. So I'm going to start with Facebook. There is a Facebook connector in Power BI. You can just open it up, choose Facebook as a data source, and it will connect you to Facebook, and you can do some analysis straight away. But that connector only helps you get public information. And what I mean with that is that when you have a company page, then there is all kind of information behind what Facebook calls analytics or insights. There is all kind of valuable information, and if you saw it on the slide I was showing you with what I was trying to replace, we were trying to replace something called impressions and reach and all these stuff that exists only on those deeper pages in Facebook. So you cannot get to it with the connector. You can get a lot from the connector, but you cannot get that. If you only want to see how many followers do you have, what are your posts, or how many likes did they get, then the connector is great for it. Facebook has an insights page like this. So you can go log on here, and you can go and you can see all kind of different information. There's a lot of great information here about what your company page, how they're performing. And this is the data we wanted to get. If you want to get this data, you have two options. The first one is you can go in here and you can export the data. There is a button here, export data, and then you can choose a time frame, up to 180 days, but you can download multiple files if you want to go further back in time. This is a great place to start if you're not sure what you want to get, and or you don't want to use the APIs. It's a valuable thing. Then you can just go in here and get the data and explore it. There are a couple of things that you need to be aware of if you go and get the files. The first one is that there are separate files for page data, post data, and video data. We are mostly doing page and post. We haven't done a lot of video data, but it's there for you. The second is the file format. There's two file formats there. Excel format, like the old Excel format, or CSV. Now, when I did this first, I did CSV. I thought, it's nicer structure. Power BI handles that well. It's a good thing to do. But what I didn't realize is that the file itself has hundreds of columns. And I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of columns. So when you do a CSV file, it's just one white file. And when I loaded that in Power BI almost choked on it to begin with. But not only that, when because I had these hundreds of columns, I wanted to get rid of 80% of them, or 95% of them. And then when I started removing columns, 50 at a time or 40 at a time, I ended up with the M script that was too long. The line was too long, so I actually, it failed. So CSV is good if you want to, load it with an integration tool, integration services or something like that. That's fine. But if you want to use Power BI, don't do CSV. If you choose Excel, which is the better thing to do, it will download, and I'm just going to show you a little bit how a file like that looks. So this is a file that I had downloaded for 3 months period or something like that. And as you see, there's more than one sheet. There are a few sheets in there, and there's a lot of columns. And to show a little bit about how many columns there are actually few. And this is just the key metric sheet. And then, the sheets, if you see, the sheets are also few of them. And, as you can imagine, the CSV file was like all these sheets, all these columns, just. But the Excel file also downloads. When you download that, you will need to open it up in Excel, and you will need to save it again. Because there is something about the format that Excel doesn't like it, Power BI doesn't like it. So, but if you open the file and you save it again as an XLS, then it's fine. Excel will protest when you open it, say, oh, there's a bad format, but just save it again, that's fine. So Power BI doesn't like it straight out. So it's a little bit of a hassle, this process, to always have to download it, open it up, save it again, and then you can import it into Power BI. But the good thing about it is that there's a lot of good data in it. It's very easy to navigate. And if you're just starting out, you can just look at it also in Excel just to see, what is available, what data is there. And if you want to go down the API route, then at least you have, already seen what is available, and you can, figure out what you want, because the API route is a little bit more difficult. So if you want to, start over. Not what I wanted. So if you want to use the API, you can. You will need to go into Facebook developer page. You need to create an application. And when I say create an application, it's just give it a name, and and to give some description. That's really it. But what you get then, you get an application key and secret, which you need to use to create a token. And this access token gives you access to your page, but it is not as simple as it sounds, because Power BI cannot handle the creation of the token, not unless you write some R. But if you want to just do it, without writing R, Power BI cannot handle this. The reason is that the Facebook API requires a redirect web page. So you tell, when you create the application, here's my redirect web page, and when you call the API asking for a token, it will redirect to that URL, which is, Power BI cannot figure that out. So there's a limitation there, but there are some ways around it, which I will talk about a little bit later. You can, if you want to just test it out, you want to try it, you're just figuring this out, you can go to developers.facebook.com/explorer. There you can generate a token for testing, and that token will only be valid for an hour or something like that. So and then if you want to load again, you need to go in there again, generate a new token, and so it's not viable for a production scenario, but to begin with, it works well. You need to get it's very confusing. I'm not a software developer. I am a BI guy, so I don't have a really big background in programming. So I found it really confusing to working with these APIs, especially Facebook one. You have a user token, you have a page token, you have an application token, and you don't know, what do I need for what. But once you get through that initial hurdle, it is actually not that difficult to work with. What you get when you use APIs in Power BI, you call a specific URL, and you get returned something. So if you want to get impressions, you only get impressions back. You don't get the posts. So then you need to call another one. So you can end up with a lot of queries. When you're doing the API, when you could, if you are satisfied with the file, you can just do the file, and then it's just one file. It's a little bit easier to work with, but it's not it is not very productive, not very automatic if you do the files. So this is, pretty much our experience with, Facebook. Like I said, files, easy, API, a bit difficult, but doable. And, if you, if you are doing it with the APIs and you want to share some notes, then, I will be willing to do that. Then it was Twitter, and there was actually a very, very similar experience, except that Twitter has a similar page, the insights page, where the good stuff lays. And it's very similar to Facebook's, but except there's a lot less data in there. You can download a file, a CSV file, because it has a lot less data. It's not a bad file to work with. If you want to use their APIs, so before I finish this off, you can export data in exactly the same way as in Facebook, except it's just much easier. So if you want to use the API from Twitter, you will need to do the same things. You need to create an application. It's this basic info. If you create an application and you use the API, you can get only the tweets and the basic information, search. So you cannot get to the inside data with the API in Twitter unless you pay. Twitter acquired a company a couple of years ago that is an API company. They create APIs. So what Twitter did when they acquired this company, they put all the juicy stuff into an API that is run by this company, and that you have to pay for. It's $2,250 a month just for the impressions. But there's no other model really. I asked them, I contacted them and said, I'm just going to do it for our own account. We just want to see how many impressions we have. And they just don't have a model for that. They're just doing this for companies that want to resell access. So there's a lot of software out there that gathers all this data in and then sells access to that. So that's what their target group is. So there's just not a model for just people who want to analyze their own stuff. So we actually ended up downloading the CSVs. We do that every month. It's pretty tedious, but it's still something that works for us. And since it's only monthly, it's okay. We do use the API for getting the tweets themselves and getting stuff like that to get so we can have more alive things. But only the engagement stuff is done on a monthly basis. We have rather recently started doing this, so we are just gathering as much data as we can at the moment to figure out what we like to have, what we don't like. Yes. So the CSV file contains really everything you need from the inside perspective. Not everything you can get with the search API, because with the search API you could potentially look at other more than just your own data. Yeah. The only problem I have with it's not very rich data. So you have a lot of time series, but you don't have a lot of dimensions. If you want to look at it from all kind of demographics and stuff like that. That's something they lack a bit, which Facebook does not at all. They have a bunch of stuff in there. So LinkedIn, you're starting to know the story probably now. They have an inside page, and the page is a little bit different to the others in that you are not able to download any files there, which is a shame because you sometimes just want to get started. There is an extension for Chrome that allows you to download at least some of it. You can see it up in the left corner, or right corner, sorry. pops up there. You can ask for time range, and I can download it. It's not perfect, and it's not something I would recommend doing in a production scenario, but it's nice just to get a sample of the data. So since data downloading is pretty much not an option, you would want to use the APIs. And LinkedIn are probably the best one of the bunch, because if you create an application and you get an access token, it actually lasts for 60 days or something like that. So even though you just do a developer one, you're still gonna only have to go in after 2 months or something like that. Now they say that it can be shorter, but that's just at least my experience. It lasts for a while. But if you want to do it properly, of course, you would need to do some way to, and with all the platforms, some way to acquire a token that is not going manually in and creating it. You can also, there is a page called APIG, apig.com. If you haven't heard about it, I will check it out if you want to work with APIs in Power BI. There's a bunch of APIs. You can create your own API connection. So you can go in there and you can generate a token for LinkedIn for 60 days. So then you at least have get started. And just an observation, LinkedIn has, when you're calling their API, you need to have a time period, and that time period is in milliseconds since epoch. And I had to look that up. Like I say, I'm not a developer guy, which is just a huge integer string. Not string, integer. So I just put it on there for you to check out if you want. So LinkedIn was actually quite nice to work with. Their API is fairly well documented, and when you only have to create a token once in a while, it is actually fine enough. We are, of course, working on doing that better. Instagram is an interesting thing, because if you go to Instagram, there is no way to download anything. There's no way to see anything. They don't have an insight or analytics page. There's just nothing. You can go and look at images and say, oh, how many people like that image, or how many comments did I get? But there's no way to get all the bigger picture like all the other platforms have. So you have almost no options. But you can. They have an API where you can get it, and we had the company I work for. We had never touched on those data from Instagram because it was just not available for a business person logging on. He wouldn't want to go down and look at each and every image and start writing down how many likes it got. So we looked at that, looked at the API behind it, which is actually quite a nice one. They don't have there's not a lot of data you can get from them, but you can get a fair bit. But I ran into a problem. Oh, sorry. My problem was that I created an application like you should. I got my key and my secret and everything, and then I called the API. And then you can only get the API, your application to begin with is in sandbox mode. What that means is that you can do everything you want, but you only get 20 results back. So only the last 20 images or videos or whatever. So that's fine enough. If you want to get more, you need to have your application approved by Instagram. This is a little bit different from the other platforms, because both Twitter and all the other 3 platforms, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, they require you to have your application approved if you want to let other people log on to it. So if you're just doing it for yourself, you don't have to go through the process of having it approved, which is not easy, for example, for Facebook. But Instagram does require you to have it approved. And when you have it approved, when you want to have it approved, there is a process that you fill out some forms. And when I did that, I got this one here. I want to build analytics for my own Instagram account. Not supported. So you're not allowed to use their API to analyze your own data. So I tried to figure out why they would want to do that. And the closest to an answer I got was because they are making money off people doing applications that actually sell access, people access to. So there's companies doing all kind of applications that they allow you to log on, and they're making money from that. And so they don't want you to do it yourself. They want you to go through them. So we are actually in a little bit of a pickle with Instagram. Either we have to lie to them, or we have to continue to do some temporary tokens. It is possible to do to go to a page called the instagram.pixelunion.net, and if you go there and you log on to your Instagram account, they will generate a token for you. They are an approved application, but they only have a limited scope, so you cannot get everything. You cannot get comments, for example, but you can get all your images and everything about them. So it's a little bit of a difficult thing to do. So we have discussed if we should just say the reason we want to do this is because we want to create an application that allows people to helps people marketing. That is one of the reasons. And then just help ourselves with marketing. Only sell it to ourselves and not to anyone else. But it is, of course, not a very honest way to do things. So I have tried to write. I'm writing to them and try to communicate with them and asking them, if it's if it's not something they would reconsider on. But we are not a big customer, so it's probably not something they will do for us. So if you're in a similar situation and want to talk to them about it, please do. The one thing you need to be aware of if you use the Pixel Union one is that in order for them to generate a token for you, you will need to grant them access to your page. You don't give them any password or anything like that. It's just a similar thing when you go onto a Facebook app. It says you need to grant them access to your basic profile or whatever. So it's something you consider if depending on what kind of material you have on Instagram. We don't have any secrets there, so we are not overly concerned, and you can always revoke it later. But you will need to do it for it to work. Now I said before that Power BI does not handle redirect authentication. So what you can do is you can write the calls to the API using R. I don't know R very well, so I chose not to do that. Instead, I created a .NET application based off, of course, my good friends on the internet, someone who had created a lot of this stuff before. So I have a .NET application which I'm developing now, which calls the API, asks for a token. When it gets the token back, it writes it to a database, which then Power BI reads. It's pretty complex, but it still works fine. I have it already made for LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. I'm just working on the others. This is very crude at the moment because it's just something I'm writing, and like I'm going to say, I'm not a .NET developer. I'm just trying to figure it out. We're going to have some developers on it to do it better. If you are interested in the code, just let me know. You're more than welcome to get it. It's mostly from the internet anyway. So just get in touch, and I will get you the code. So when you have that, you can do refresh automatically without having to go to some place first. The only things we have not gotten properly done is Twitter, because of the API there costs money. And we are not going to go down that route of paying $2,000 a month for it. That's for sure. As I said in the beginning, we did some Google Analytics to begin with. It was actually the first thing we did. Has anyone tried the connector to Google Analytics? Yeah, many people. It works actually pretty well. It's nice. It has, of course, some problems. The Google Analytics API has a problem in general when it doesn't allow you to have more than 7 dimensions. But if you just call it often enough, you can do combinations that that work enough for you. If you in your model, you can then join tables. What we had, the problem we had with it in Power BI was that because you cannot call it with parameters like what time period do you want. We always get everything, and we have Google Analytics data since 98 or something. So we have a lot of data in Google Analytics, and when we call it, the connector is actually intelligent enough that it only calls as often it is allowed to do. It doesn't get a timeout. But because the API only allows you to have something like 10,000 records every 30 seconds or something like that, it took us 4 hours to refresh the document to get all the data in, because it just was so slow. So we dropped out of it. We have, of course, got the basic visualizations up and running, so we are happy with the pilot or with the proof of concept, but we are not going to use Power BI for it anymore. So we are going to use integration services to call it and put it in a data warehouse. If you want to use the Google Analytics API, there's a link there to a page where you can try to see what fits together. And that's one of the biggest problems with the Google Analytics API. If you choose the wrong dimensions together, you will limit the results you're getting. And it's not very obvious. For an example, I did it. I was choosing things together, and I got a fine big data set. Then I added gender. I got 4 rows back. Then I took out dates and put in years instead. I got full data set again. And it just, why? This makes no sense. Why did I even get 4? Why didn't I get this? Nothing if it doesn't fit together. So it's really, really, really difficult to, if you're using it, always think about the amount of rows you're getting back, and make sure that, if you add something, that you're not getting much fewer rows, just so you're absolutely sure that it works right. And of course, if you want to get rid of those limitations, you can just cough up the money, $150,000 a year. And if you do that, there's no limitations on the API, both how many times you can call it, how many dimensions you can use, and you get dedicated support. And it's really nice. If this is something really, really, really important, and you work for a very big company, that might be an option. Okay, well, time to show you some stuff. So, just going to go back once more, sorry about that. Remember, this was the first one we had. 3 KPIs, some posts, and some competitor analysis of how many followers do they have and we have. So we tried to replace it with this. And we are, like I say, we are very much trying to figure the data out. So this is actually one of the hardest things about it. And you of course all know that doing good KPIs is not easy. Figuring out what is useful, what has real business benefit is not easy. So that we are actually working on that. The first KPI we have there is just followers, and are they growing month over month. It's a fair enough KPI. It's okay one. The problem here is, of course, we don't really have any idea of if the followers are the right followers or the wrong ones. And what is the biggest problem we have with this data in general from all the platforms is that we have no idea to separate employees from it. So we don't know if, of those followers, how many are employees of the company, or of those 50 that liked the posts, how many of them work for us, which can skew the data. It's they liked it, so it's good, but it's more and more valuable for us if if a person outside of the company likes it. So that's why you have to think about it a little bit. The engagement part is the real thing we are looking for. That's what we are really after. It was not, all those platforms give you engagement, with the exception of give you engagement in numbers, like 119,000 there. Except LinkedIn, it gives you an engagement only in percent. And then you need to reverse engineer their formula. The formula is on the page, so you can see it, but it is a little bit difficult, and I'm not sure how accurate it is. And then the third KPI, which number of posts. This is one of the weirder ones, because the people in the marketing, they want to have less posts but higher quality. So the KPI is just less posts. There's no way to tell if the posts were higher quality or not. So we are working with them to try to figure out something else in that, because it's not a good KPI if you can. So you can just post nothing and it's really great. You made your day. At least that KPI is going to be blue. So yeah, that's something we need to check out better. Then we have below here, we have the most popular posts from Facebook. Since we are not as far with other platforms, we are gonna this is gonna show only the most popular posts from whatever platform, or we will allow them to have a slicer on platform or something like that. So we just got all the posts in, and then we just took the two most popular ones. And then on the right side, we have followers that we have and our competitors have. So we have defined competitors, and then we just scrape those sites for them as well. Getting the number of followers is pretty easy with all the APIs. So there's a lot of posts about that also on the internet. So that was not big, it was not difficult. Then we have some time series, which are pretty boring. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. It was just really important for the people in marketing to get to know what is trending over time. But it gets a little bit more interesting in the demographics, a little bit, not a lot. So you can get data about Facebook from where people are, what gender they are, and what age range they are. Because we, of course, offer all these details to Facebook all the time. And this is anonymous when we get it. So Facebook doesn't, even though you have said you don't want to tell, they can still count it in. Because we don't see who you are. So this is a little bit more interesting. Then it gets even more interesting when we start looking at the posts and the reactions. So here we have just the text of the posts that are most popular in a given time period. And below is the post itself. So I can press a post, and I can read it if I want to. The text and see the image and everything. So this is something what they're trying to do with this is they are trying to figure out what is working. So they have there is a lot of people all over the world in our organization that are posting on social media. So it's not only marketing that's doing it. There are product managers, and there's all kind of people all over the world, and they have a hard time educating people in how they should post on Facebook. So some of our users just post a commercial, something that's been made, but it doesn't really work. So they're trying to figure out what works and why does it work. And then we have a categorization here down here of what type of reaction did we get. So we have a one sad face there, for example. And we can click on that and then say, what post was that got sad face? That's valuable as well. And then we are just started to do something which is really fun. We have started to do some sentiment analysis on this data. So we are taking the comments made on our posts, and we are trying to categorize them, are they as positive, negative, or neutral. We are using the Azure Cognitive Services. There are some nice posts on this on the internet, and I'm happy to share the code for this. So you just call Azure Cognitive Services with the comments, and it will return a number between 0 and 1, where 1 is like, way, it was fantastic. 0 is someone who's really angry. So everything below 0.5 is typically considered negative-ish. But everything above is considered positive. What the problem with it is, at least at the moment, it doesn't detect the language. So you need to tell it beforehand what is the language of this comment. And since I cannot do that, at least at the moment, I cannot figure out the language. So I just have to, I send everything up as English, and then if it's in Spanish, I will just get a neutral. So because the engine doesn't figure it out. But it's we have like 80% of our comments are in English, so it works, kind of works. We are going to do exactly the same for Twitter and LinkedIn, and then we're going to see is it useful or not. It is actually, and then there's another problem with this service. If you have, I don't know if you have tried it. If I just take the negative ones, this is negative comments. So you see that the engine is not always that good. This is the foot. My prosthetic guy is fighting with the insurance company to get me. This is a really positive thing for us. Someone is fighting to get our product. But the engine thinks, fighting, that's bad, So it's negative. So it's something that, and there's something in Spanish there as well, So it's not perfect, but it's something we are working on. We are trying to make, make more usable, but what it has already done is that we have actually spotted comments that are really negative, and we want to react on straight away. And what this does is that, there is a person who is, managing this, and they are actually looking at Facebook and trying to spot negative comments. Now we can just give it to them, so they don't have to go into Facebook and read all the comments just to find that one negative. Now they just read those 10 comments that are, 9 of them are false positives, while 1 is really negative, and we need to act on it. So it will save them work. And also, because we have it on all platforms, it will save them, time going into different platforms. Twitter data, we only have time series. It's pretty boring. We have done similar with LinkedIn as we did with Facebook, getting the posts. So you can read through the posts. But like I say, it's not so exciting to see. We have, though, done a little bit with Instagram. I'm not going to go on this one here, sorry. Which it's a pretty fun thing. So here you can see all the most popular images we have put on Instagram. On the page before, there is more like the insights stuff, which is something fun, but it's just not so fun to demo. It's just much more fun to demo. So you can, it's just a chiclet slicer where you can click on it, and it will show you the image, how many likes did it get, how many comments did it get, and this is a lot of fun to work with and to demo. And they use this actually to try to figure out what works. What images have they put on that are popular? I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to go back to my slides. I'm used to doing this in an hour. Now it's only 40, 50 minutes I get, so we're trying to speed up a little. So what we want to do is better. What is for us to do better? We want to do more automation, and that's what we are doing with the .NET application that does the token generation. That will allow us to do more automation. Then we can totally drop the files from Facebook at least. But we are still going to have to do file download from Twitter, most likely. We want to collect the data into data warehouse, and that's for a later time when we are like say Power BI is fantastic to get things up running fast. Everything is working. We're really happy, but it's full load every time. There's no incremental load. We're always loading the same data again and again and again, and it can only be accessed inside Power BI. We want to put it in the data warehouse, organize it better, and then make it available to all kind of different places. We want to use more of the data, but that depends a little bit on what is the business value in it. There is a lot of this is just fun, but there's not a lot of business value in it. So we need to figure that out better. We want to do more of analysis on our competitors. We saw that we have a little bit about their followers. We have also all their posts from Facebook, sentiment analysis on that, so we can try to figure out something about them as well. That's pretty easy to do, and we want to do more of that. And then we also want to do YouTube data. I have just started that. That's very interesting also. We have, for example, a YouTube Academy page where there's a lot of videos for internal use, which we would like to monitor. But we also have a lot of videos out there because the way that our business is, it's a lot about those feet and those ankles and showing people in sporty situations running on our feet and stuff like that. So that's something we want to do, and we are hopefully going to move this on soon. So this is it. Like I say, I have 2 minutes left. Just a second, yeah. I will gladly answer questions now. If we don't have time, I will just stay on and we can discuss. So